Welcome everyone to the Microsoft Productivity Power Hour for March, where we unlock Microsoft Office 365 and you get more uses out of the Office 365 tools. As a friendly reminder, all meetings are recorded and we post them also on our community on YouTube, on our YouTube channel later on. So if you don't want to be on camera, please mute yourself or come up off, stay off the camera and put your questions in the chat. We are sponsored and hosted by NCT Tech Consulting and Sister Tech, so thank you for the support. What we cover the Microsoft Office 365. We understand that a lot of people have the Office 365, but only using 25 to 30% of its use. We're here to help you get 154% return on your investment. We teach things like Microsoft Office 365, Microsoft Office 365, OneDrive for Business, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Office, Forms, PowerApps, and much, much more. If you have any question, please use the chat windows. And please put them in when you have that question, because you don't want to forget that question, so please type it into the chat. Before we really get into it, I'd like to give you a cloud disclaimer. This is cloud technology. And because it's cloud technology, it's constantly updating. So sometimes they may have a button that has been misplaced or moved or changed based on a last recent update. So if you give us a chance to look around and make sure we find that, because sometimes a button could be there this morning and not be there this evening. So give us a chance to look around and get it together and get back to you. Today's agenda is OneDrive for Business, securing files, storage, and smart collaboration. Last week, we talked about Outlook and how helping automating repetitive tasks, organizing emails effectively, and scheduling meetings without chaos, reducing inbox time for 30 to 40%. By the end of the session today, we're going to look at OneDrive for Business and your personal workspace for secure file storage and sharing. From the tips today, you'll be able to do things like sync files, sharing securely, using version history, collaborate with colleagues and others. So with that said, let's move on to demo time. So I will switch it over to you, Nikki, and you go.
Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen. I don't see any thumbs up or anything yet. Okay, all righty. Okay, so we'll jump into some demo, but of course, I got to do a little setup first. So we're going to talk about OneDrive. So first of all, why does OneDrive even matter? There can be a lot of file chaos that can slow your team down, or even you down, even if you're just a team of one. And there's still the risk of those USB drives and using those. So never use the free ones from the conferences without wiping it and running your security checks on them. Never accept free USB drives because there are lots of scams around that. But also email attachments, sending around email attachments and local storage can be a problem because we don't all have unlimited storage on all of our devices. So that's why it can matter. But what is OneDrive for Business? So it's your secure file storage space for in Microsoft Office 365. It may say OneDrive in the Office 365 space, but that one is the actual OneDrive for Business. It's built for business so that you can share and you can work on files and that you can recover and you have version history and things like that. But it is your personal workspace versus for work versus a team workspace where SharePoint is, which we'll talk about that a little bit. But OneDrive for Business is, again, your personal workspace for business files, not your personal space for your personal files. So don't put your pictures and your, bill spreadsheet and all of that stuff. Don't put that in your work OneDrive, especially if you don't own that tenant. Because if you leave or anything like that, plus people from the organization can look into your OneDrive. It is for the business. It is owned by the business. So make sure that you keep only your work files in there. Excuse me. Okay. So this is something that people get confused a lot before we get into the first parts of the demos. OneDrive versus SharePoint versus Teams. Now we're talking about OneDrive for Business, the one that's in Microsoft Office 365, not the one that you get with your Microsoft account. This is the one when you actually log into Microsoft Office 365. It's for your personal work files, where SharePoint is that team collaboration space, mainly for shared files, but it can be permissioned so that only certain people can get into certain spots. It's like an intranet with permissions and storage and lots of different things you can do there. Plus the org structure. And then Teams is the collaborative hub that uses SharePoint in the background for files. OneDrive can also be used through Teams, but through the OneDrive button on the side. So we're going to focus on OneDrive, especially because it's the quickest win for most people that are initially getting started with Office 365. So we're going to go into some of the demos, and the first demo is how you store, access, and sync your files. All right. So this is the first thing that we're going to go over. We're going to look at how we get to how we get to OneDrive, first of all, because there's a couple of different ways. And then we'll go through a quick tour. So let me get my demo account up. All right. When you go into your Office 365 account, and you can just go to office.com, I'll just demonstrate that real quick. If you're already signed into the browser like I am, I'm signed in with my demo account credentials in this browser. So it automatically signs me in directly into, and this is the Edge browser, Microsoft to Microsoft. So it automatically signs me directly into the Office 365 tenant and my environment. The first place I land, which I already have open, is the homepage for Office 365, which is now the Copilot homepage. That homepage is where you can access Copilot, whether you have the free version or the paid for version of Copilot. Here is a little bit different for accessing OneDrive than it is anywhere else. If you're on this page, you're going to have to scroll down. Sometimes you have to scroll down, but actually it's right here. There's apps right here. You click on that, and then you click on OneDrive right here. Now, it does say OneDrive instead of OneDrive for Business, but note that you're in a work environment, so it is OneDrive for Business, not OneDrive. Now, if you're anywhere else in Office 365, say I'm in my email, I have the app launcher available. So I click on that, and then I could choose OneDrive from here. No matter how I choose it, I land in the OneDrive, and I have a bunch of options here. So when I first land, I land on the OneDrive homepage. It says home. It'll say your name. You'll have this create upload button for you to be able to create and upload documents, which we'll look at in a bit. On this home page, you can see files that you have access to, are the owner of, or have been working on from different places. So some of these places aren't even inside of this in my files. It's actually in SharePoint, like this one. This one's in, well, it's actually in Teams, but also in SharePoint. Same thing, Teams and SharePoint, Teams and SharePoint. This one's Think Teams and SharePoint. So a lot of things can be shared across, but then you'll also see that I have a document down here in my files which is the file that actually is living in the OneDrive space here. Down the left navigation, I have the space for my files, which is where the files that I'm actually in my actual OneDrive are. The files that are shared with me, so any files that are shared with me and any files that are shared by me would be here, which can be important because sometimes you may need to remove people's permission to be able to access the file anymore. So you might every once in a while want to go here, especially if you're using OneDrive a lot, go here, check the by you and see what you're sharing and then possibly make changes if needed. Anything you favorite with the little star on it will show up here. And then there's the recycle bin, which we'll get into in a bit. There's also the ability to browse the files by different people, by the meetings that you might have had, and by different media types. And then there's also quick access to different places in SharePoint where you might want to access as well. So you can access some SharePoint spots from OneDrive if you like being in OneDrive. If there's more SharePoint spots, you can click on the more places and it'll show that. But we're going to stick to OneDrive today. All right. So now that we've done that, we know how to access OneDrive and we know how to get to the different places and what they mean and all of that. Let's go into looking at how to upload and organize files. So we're going to create a folder. I'm just going to name it Power Hour, and then upload a few files, rename them using a naming convention. It can be any naming convention to clean up the name, and then show it in the recent updates so that you can see that there. Okay, so let me get back to my demo area. Okay, so first of all, you can create and upload from the home page. You don't have to go to My Files in order to do it. But I particularly like coming here because then I can see the files that are actually in OneDrive, not files that I own or I'm working on anywhere else. It just shows me just my OneDrive stuff. So once I get into my My Files, then I click on the Create and Upload button. There's Folder here. There's also the ability to upload files or upload folder. If you upload the folder, then the files will come with it. There's also the ability for me to create different Office apps that you can do on the web. So for example, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. This one's Excel, but it's Excel form, so it'll come up looking like a survey, although now we mostly use Microsoft's Forms for that. Some people still use Form Survey. Visio, if you have that included in your package. Clipchamp, which is included in everybody's package, I think now, lists, and the ability to create a link. Now, you might say, why would I want to create a link? If I have a document in a place where that place is the single source of truth, but I need it over here too, I could put a link to that document so it can stay in the source of truth. It can be edited where it's supposed to stay. And then whenever the changes are made, it will also reflect where the document is linked to. So that's what a link is, and you can use that in SharePoint as well. But anyway, let's go to upload a file. Okay. And I'm in my one of my folders in one of my places. So I'm just going to grab, let's just say, a picture. Let's grab this picture. Open it. Whoopsie. All right, it's switched. Okay. Now it says it's uploaded, but well, first I didn't see it. It didn't pop up. Sometimes it doesn't pop up initially. You have to refresh the screen and then it'll pop up. But you'll normally see the pop-up that'll tell you that it's in there, even if it doesn't show up on your screen. So I see it on my screen now. Now I can go ahead and I can actually make this, rename this. Oh, actually I was supposed to create the folder first. So let me create a folder, name it Power Hour first. Power our OneDrive demo. Now you can change the color. You got your standard, manila color for a folder, but you can make it any other color that you have available here. So maybe I want to make it like green, and I hit create. Now my folder's here with the color. And one thing I just realized that I can show you, even though I didn't realize I did not put it on the thing, is in my demos, is there is an ability for you to move things and copy things. So I have this folder, I have my document should be in my folder. So I'm going to use this move to after checking the box next to the file that I want to move. And then I'm going to choose the folder that I want it to go in. And that's this folder. And then I'm going to say move here. Now, of course, I have the copy as well. So I could do copy. And, a copy will leave a piece of it there, copy in one spot, and then put a copy of it in another spot. That is not always ideal, but sometimes that is something that you want to do. But you got to be careful of having the single source of truth when you do stuff like that. So now my file is in this folder, and we can continue on with the original plan. So the first part of that plan was to rename this file, besides making the folder. So I can go to the file and rename it by clicking the three dots next to it, and there's rename right there, or check the box next to it, and the three dots, there's rename right there. Now I can rename this. This was Doctor with Apps, I believe is what she, whoops, was in the picture. Okay, so I can give it a better name so that it has a cleaner name. Okay, I can also create a new document, like say, for example, a Word document. When I click on it, it will open up Word in the browser. And in the browser, I have lots of different options that I normally have on the desktop version. I prefer using the desktop version though, so I normally would go under Edit and then open in the desktop version, but you can use the browser version. Just note that sometimes when you use the browser version, especially in Word, if your document is heavy in graphics and things like that, and you open it in Word, sometimes it looks skewed, like things are off. Open it in the desktop and you'll see that things are most likely okay. But here's the document that I just created. I can rename it by clicking up here and rename the document. And it auto saves. So see the cloud right here? It auto saves it. All right. So I could just leave this document. I don't even have to do anything else once it's established. And the document will show up here in my files or not. And then I have to refresh. So again, if it doesn't show up, it's just a browser. Things sometimes show up cached, so you have to refresh the page in order for more to up-to-date stuff to show up. All right, so now I got my files. I've renamed one, um, and uh, I could see that the file was reset because of these, or new file because of these indicators right here. It also says right here that it was modified a few seconds ago, so I could see what time it was, and by who, just in case this document was something that was shared with me, as opposed to being my own document. But this indicator shows what documents were more reset than others as well. Okay. So now, the next thing is to look at how you sync this to your computer. Syncing the files to your computer can make it so much easier, especially if you're used to working on your desktop. That helps you to be able to just have the files live directly on your desktop. So Let me gotta get this out the way, and let me go back to my demo environment. And the way you sync is you have to be in My Files for that. Now, I normally make sure I'm at the top level of My Files before I go to the sync. And then I choose the, oh, wait a minute, what they do with the sync button. Okay, they have moved the sync button. It used to be, this would be details for each thing. It used to be up here on the action bar.
Like the three dots.
3 dots where?
Once you click on one, it's three dots that show up at the top.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no, but that's only for one document. I'm talking about for this whole thing. Yeah, I don't know what they did with it.
Or
Not under. Oh, you know what? I think I know where it is now. I think I know where they probably put it. They probably put it in the gear now. Yes, here it is. Okay, so they moved it to the gear. So you click on the gear. In the gear, there's sync this OneDrive. Once you sync the OneDrive to your computer, then you will actually, let's say, for example, let me move this over here. I don't think I have this. Oh no, I don't have my, um, I don't have this demo account sunk, but once you sync it, then it would basically show up on your navigation. It'll say um, your name and then the name of your demo tenant. And in it will be all the files that you see on the screen. Whoops, all the files that you see on the screen under My Files. I'm sorry. So you would see all these folders and then the document, and then this folder would have the 2 files in it. And then anytime you add stuff, you would be able to see it here and you would be able to see it on your computer. So you'd be able to access it through the browser if you happen to not have your computer. Or if you have your computer and you have it sunk to your computer, then you can access the files through the desktop. All right. So now let's look at sharing safely. But before we get into that, why would you want to share? Because secure sharing beats attachments. First of all, attachments sometimes don't go because they're too large. So the person's email may reject it. Links take you back to the single source of truth. So the person may, if you have something attached and you want it to be a document where they can see the changes, the link will allow them to see the changes depending on the link that you give them um, and how long it lasts. You have the ability to revoke access at any time, and you can choose who can view it and who can edit things instead of the way the attachments work. So now we're going to look at how we share a file securely instead of using attachments. So we'll look at the share, we'll look at view versus edit, we'll look at the expiration, we'll look at how the how the link looks when it's copied. And I'll share it with Harry so that he's able to work in the document with me. Actually, I might share with all of y'all and do an anyone link so we can all get in there. And then show how to manage the access afterwards, like if you need to kick people out and stuff like that. So we'll look at all of that. Okay, so let me get my demo environment up. All right, so sharing. When we want to share, there's this little button right here. So you can hover over any of these things and you'll see the share button. You can also check the box next to the thing. And on the action bar, there's the share. You have to be in My Files for this. or the three dots, and then there's the share here. But you could also share from the home, just so you know, there's a share button here and the three dots. There's just no checkbox and no action bar. So you can still share from the home if you need to. So say, for example, I want to share this document that I made earlier before we got into this session. Hit the share button. Any way that I hit the share button, I'm going to get this box that looks like this. In this box, I have a few things. I have this more options. Now, when I open up a document on my desktop and I use the more options, I also have the ability to send it as whatever that document is, or send it as a PDF. So if it's a Word document, send it as a Word document, or send it as a PDF. And it'll actually open that document in a Word, in an Outlook email, so that you can, add your people, add your title, add your body, and then send the email. And the document will be attached directly to it. But we're talking about more doing links as opposed to attachments. Just want you to know that it's there. You have the ability to add people's names directly. If there are people inside of your organization, you can just click in the box and there's a bunch of people you could choose from. But you can also type in names or email addresses of folks outside of your organization. If they've already been added to your organization somehow, somebody already shared something with them and they're external, then you may already see them in your list. Like, say, for example, here's my NTC email address, which is not connected to this dev account. So because we've used it before, it shows up in the list. But I could just use the email address of the person or persons that I want to send this to. Now, if I do that, it's going to send it directly to those people or person or people, and they will only have the direct access through the link that you gave them directly to their email, and they have to access it that way. You can choose if this group of people or person is going to edit, going to be able to edit whatever you sent them, going to be able to review it so they can make suggest some changes and put in track changes and things like that. They can view it, so they can look at it and they can download it, but they can't make any changes to it, or they can't download it. Meaning they can look at it in place, but they can't download it at all. Whatever you choose, everybody in this box is going to get the same thing. So just make sure you realize that. You can add a message if you like, but there's another way. There's also copy link. Now, when you hover over copy link, it'll tell you what kind of link it's about to give you. It's about to give me an anyone link with that anybody can edit. This is the link that I'm actually going to copy and share with all of you so you can get in this document with me. But what if I didn't want an anyone link? I needed a link with a little bit more restriction on it. I could click on the gear. There's the settings. So I could choose whether this link is going to be an anyone link, only the people that are in my organization, people that only have existing access to this already, which is only me because it's my OneDrive, or people I choose, and that people I choose will be put in the box that we saw in the first panel. I can also choose which setting that I want as far as editing and viewing and downloading and all of that. I could set an expiration date, and I can also set a password. Now, I would usually by default have an expiration date here. In this tenant, we don't have it set up, but in our other tenant, we have a default expiration date so that people don't even have to remember to recline the link. But you really should be setting an expiration date so people don't hold on to stuff forever. Um, or if it's something really important, you want to put a password on it. And then once you apply it, and then copy the link, then the link will be configured with all the settings that you just gave it. Now, if you chose the people we choose, then of course you got to put these people's names here. And then you choose this then to send an invite and email, which won't send an attachment. It'll still send a link invite to that document. So in a bit, we are going to co-author this document, but we're not going to do it right now because that is not part of this part of the demo, but it is coming up. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot how to manage the access afterwards. Now, after you have the link, you can give it away and whatnot, but how do you manage the access afterwards? So if I had multiple people in this document, on this document, I could go back to the share because that's the best way to go for the most part. But there's, if you're already in share, I would say it's the best way to go. But there's manage access that's right here. There's no manage access button here. And I think the manage access button is not here either. It's only here. So manage access is only through the three dots. So you click on that, manage access, and it takes you to this screen. Now, the other way you can get to that screen is through the share button. So if you clicked on that by mistake and you're like, I really want to manage access, not give access, you can click on the people down here. If it's more than one person being shared, you'll see a bunch of people lined up. And then you can see who owns the document, and then below it will be the people that you shared with it, shared the document with, any groups that this document may be shared with, and any links that you've created. So for the links, I can modify it using the gear. I can also delete the link. So anybody that has the link, once I remove it, they can't use it anymore. If I had more people here, and we'll look at this in a minute, that I gave access to, I think once I share it, yeah, I'll be able to see that part. You'll be able to see like a little drop down next to each person, and you'll be able to change how they're accessing the document or remove their access. There'll also be that option as well. All right. So let's go back to the slides and go to our next demo. So now we're going to look at how we recover older versions and how we restore through the version history, how we look at version history and how we restore deleted versions. So we're going to start with the version history so that you can see that. So first I'm going to have to make a couple of edits to one of these documents so you can see what that looks like before I actually open the version history so you can see the options there. All righty. And switching back. Okay, here we go. So let me open up this document. I'm going to make a couple, or at least one change. That's going to auto save, so it's saving, and it's going to finish saving. Forgot to point out that even in the browser, if you disconnect from the internet, say you're on the internet, you're on a flight, you're working on a document, and the internet all of a sudden goes out, your document will still be there. You can still edit it and everything. And then the moment your computer touches the internet again, it will save the document up to the cloud. As long as you're connected to the internet, it will auto save. If you don't want auto save to be happening all the time, then you have to open it in your desktop and then toggle the auto save off in order for that to happen, or disconnect from the internet. Okay, so I made a change, it saved it. I'm gonna go ahead and close here. Okay, then I'm going to go, now normally I refresh my page just because, like I said, it's browser, it's a cache page, so I'm coming back to it. So I normally refresh it just to make sure that what I did was captured on the other side. So here it's saying instead of 49 minutes ago, it's now saying that I modified it about a minute ago. I can click on the three dots and I have version history here, or the check mark and go to the three dots there and I have version history here. Either way that I click on it, there's my version history. I can see the different versions, who modified it. So if I'm sharing a document with somebody, they have the ability to modify the document. They make changes, I'll see what they modified here. I can also open the file, and once I open it, then I can choose to restore the file if, whoops, I don't think I chose the first one. Sorry, let me go back to that. That's why I didn't see this restore, but there's the restore and there's the delete version. But I can also open the file and look at what the older file was. And it's opening on my desktop. So sorry, it's opening on this other screen. As soon as it finishes, it's probably still gonna take itself back over to my other screen. Any day. Okay, I don't know why that's stalling, but it would open it up and then I would be able to look at it and compare it to the previous one. And then I can choose whether I want to restore that version or not. Or maybe I just want to grab stuff out of that previous version and put it into my new version. So that's how I can get my version history, and I can compare things and things like that. Uh, okay, so that's the version history. Whoopsie, keep clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. Okay. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at, how do you restore it? So you deleted the document and you're like, oh, whoops, I needed that document. How can I get it back? It's in the recycle bin. So things stay in the recycle bin for up to 90 days. So let me delete this. There's the delete. Okay. Things stay in the recycle bin for up to 90 days. Someone has the file open. Nobody has the file open. Sometimes that happens where it gets hung up on, oh, I know what, because it was trying to open it and it, no, it still hasn't opened it yet. It got hung up. So let me try refreshing and then try deleting it again. Anytime you get a pop-up, make sure you read it and then make sure you compare what you're doing so you don't delete things by accident. Okay, it's not deleting. So let me just go in here and I will delete this one instead. Okay. Now it says that it was deleted, and it's telling me to open, I can open a recycle bin, but recycle bin's also here. If you run into the error that I was just running into, make sure you close the document, close all the tabs. Sometimes you have to refresh a couple of times and then it's like, oh, you really don't have it open. But sometimes it gets stuck in that mode when you had something open recently. All right, so I could click on open recycle bin here or click on recycle bin here. And there is the document. Says it was deleted 8 hours ago by me, and I was the one that created it, and this is how big it is. Now I could choose to empty the recycle bin. Whoops, let me close this. I could choose to empty the recycle bin, and it's going to permanently delete the file. I could also choose to click 3 dots next to it, restore it, or delete the file itself. Click the checkbox next to it, and then I get the action bar of restore or delete. Again, if I want to delete something, make sure you read, or anytime you get a pop-up, make sure you read it, make sure that's what you meant to do. This is the file I meant to delete, so I can say delete. Now, things stay in the recycle bin for up to 90 days, but there's 2 stages to the recycle bin, and a lot of people don't see it at first, and it's at the bottom. So if you come here to the recycle bin and you don't see what it is that you know was deleted and you're praying that it was before the 90-day cutoff, you can go to the second stage recycle bin and you would see it there. Now you still get the same options, the same recycle, empty recycle bin, the same checkbox, the same, well, actually the 3 dots aren't here in this version, but you get the same options of deleting and restoring the thing. Now, when you want to restore something, it's going to go back to its original location. It's not going to go to any other place but the original place that it was deleted from. So if I restore, it's out of the recycle bin now, and I go back to my files, I go back to that folder, and there's the document again. So sometimes you may think you lost that file, but it's really in your recycle bin in the first stage, or sometimes it's hiding in the second stage. So check both stages first. Okay. Now we're going to look at collaborating in real time. So we're going to look at co-authoring and comments. So I'm about to share a document with y'all. I chose that anyone link on that one document so that we can all get into the same document. We'll all open the document if you choose to. You can play around in there while I talk. And I'll show you about presence and co-authoring as the concept and show you how you can comment um, and even assign an action. All right. Let's see that. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back into my demo. And I'm going to go to the document that I actually shared with y'all. And I'm going to send that document to you because I already have the link in the chat. So I know Harry and probably some others are going to get into this document with me. So I'm going to join the document, get in, and let's see. Okay, so I don't see anybody in the document with me yet, but hopefully some folks will start popping in and then we'll see like some indicators. It'll show, there we go. So you see how there's these marching flags here that tells you where people are in the document. You also see how many people are in the document with you and, you know, all of your guests. So there's no name for you. But you can see that there's this many people in there, where they are. You could go to their location. You could also see the marching flags. So when y'all had typed, or actually I clicked back on the page and I can see exactly where you are. I can start typing stuff. You could start typing stuff. We could delete each other's stuff. The only thing is sometimes it will lock you to certain pieces where you can only edit maybe not that line because somebody else is on that line, or not that word because somebody else is editing that right at the moment. But for the most part, it could be fun, but at the same time, it could be uh, frustrating when people don't know how to co-author. Some people don't know how to share documents like that. So in those situations, you don't have to use co-authoring, but it is definitely there and definitely powerful to use. Now, when you have these people in here with you, and like I said, you can go to the location. They can also comment. You can also comment. There's the comments section right here. You can click on that, put the new comment in. So, for example, if I want to put a comment here and say, should that say something as opposed to, let's say, progress? So say I put something in that first, whoops, as opposed, there we go. Say I put something in here. Let's see, maybe it could be this, even though this is not going to make any sense, but it could be, say, maybe should this say proceed as opposed to saying progress? And then I can send it. Now, if you want to send a comment, you always got to make sure that it's sent like that, so it shows up. If not, then you could go to the next thing and try to comment, but it won't let you enter it until you enter the first comment. So there's that. I can also add mention people. So like, for example, Harry, if I wanted to add mention him, I could mention him and focus the comment directly at him. All right. So that's the ability for you to like co-author and comment and all of that stuff. Oh, also there's this catch up button, which helps you to see what other people might have done in a document, and the version history is here as well. So the different comment activity as well as the version history and document changes, you will be able to see that through there. All right. Now the document is constantly saving, so it keeps on saving, keeps on saving. I'm going to leave the document, and y'all can leave the document as you like. But I at least would like, and then can you leave the document just really quickly? I just want them to see what happens when you leave. You just lose the little person up at the top. There we go. So you can see that Anan has now left, and we only have 3 people in here now. So y'all can stay in here, but I am about to remove the link, so just so you know. So I'm going to close this document. It's going to say changes that I may not be saved, but it's auto saving. So, oh, it's talking about this comment. Let me get rid of that comment. Okay. All right. So now I should be able to leave without it having, probably because okay. It should be fine. It was probably, it should have been complaining about the comment, but then when I removed it, it was probably still complaining about the same thing. All right. Now I could see this document, what it looks like right now. Let me go ahead and refresh the screen. And you could see that 8 minutes, well, let's see, 2 minutes ago now, it was modified. The last person to modify it was me because I was the last person to actually type something in right before I looked at this screen. So that's what it's showing. It's showing how the file has grown. It's also showing that it's saved, shared, and it shows that there was some activity on it. So I can see that in this activity thing. Now, if I want to remove that access, I can go to the share. I could go to manage access, but I'm gonna go to the share so you can see there's my people right there. So when I click on that, there's Anan. And since Anan is in my organization, we can see him directly in here. And I can see that he has the ability to edit. I could click on him and then I can say that I want to change so that he doesn't have this link anymore. Maybe I want to give him direct access now, or I could take away his access as well altogether. Now, as far as the link, I can just go in here and I can just delete this link. Now, you all are probably still in the document, but the moment you leave, this document is no longer going to be able, you won't be able to use the link anymore. So you can remove people's access and you can remove the links that people are using so that you revoke their access. Again, it's your space, so you control this space from that level. All right. All right. So we finished all of the demo. All right. So I want to give you a quick challenge and a call to action. Um, first of all, if you're new to the space and this is your first time doing documents and you need to share stuff, I recommend OneDrive, using that at least initially. Going next up, you'll want to use SharePoint, especially if you have a team, to share the stuff with internally, or even external team members like clients or external vendors or partners. But as far as the stuff on here, on this slide, try to move something into your OneDrive, move it into a folder, move it out of a folder, see how that feels. Share a link instead of attachment and see how that works for you. Also, look at version history, even if it's just in practice. Look at the version history, get acquainted with the recycle bin so that you know how all of this stuff works and you get comfortable. So in conclusion, before I hand this back over to Harry to close us completely out, um, Remember today you learned that OneDrive is the place for your work files, not your personal files, your work files, your personal work files. But it is a secure place that you can access from anywhere as long as you have an up-to-date device and internet access on that device. It syncs and can be used offline, and you can also sync those files to your computer. Um, it can be used offline and it will sync up to the cloud once you connect it back to the internet. And you can use the sync feature to sync those files to your computer so that you don't even have to go to the browser. There's version history, there's a recycle bin, they're your best friends. Make sure that you're acquainted with them, especially when you might encounter that situation where you're trying to find a file or trying to roll back to a previous version. And also remember that collaboration is built in, and collaboration, or we think, is a great help and can be a great equalizer, but it also can be a problem if you have folks that don't share well. So keep that in mind as well. All right. I'll put it on this slide, but you can go ahead and close this out. Any final questions
Yeah, we
while
have one
Harry?
question. Well, we have
Okay.
a few questions.
Okay.
Does this integrate with track change in Word document, or is it all still separate?
Oh no, you have track changes now in documents in Word. Before it was not available on the bar on the tab/ribbon. But now you do. So under review, there is the track change. Whoops, let's see, here, sorry, down here, track changes. So you have the ability to do track changes, accepting them and rejecting them, all of that through through the browser. Now, if you find there's an option that's not here that you need, then you need to open it on your desktop. And that will be going to editing, going to open on desktop, and then you'll have all of the options, all of the options. But for the most part, you got a good amount of options here that you can use in the browser. All right.
Okay, she's asking, um, is there a sync with what you are using?
The sync button is the sync button that is under. So I'm gonna close that again. In your OneDrive, you go to the gear and you sync this OneDrive to your computer. And it syncs all of them, all the files that are in your My Files. It syncs all of that to your computer.
All right. I have another question. Says, I noticed when you were creating the files that all the words were smashed together. Is there a reason why that is?
When I was creating a file,
Or the document that there was no spaces?
oh, this space is right here. Okay, so if you're talking about here, well, I didn't put spaces, and here I didn't put spaces, and here I didn't put spaces. That is because I am a SharePoint developer by training. And one of the things in SharePoint and OneDrive is also based on SharePoint um, is the file path name. But when you're in your OneDrive, you don't have to worry about it as much unless you start getting too many folders. The file path name can only be 400 characters. So if you have folder within folder within folder within folder, you could end up having a file path name up here, which Microsoft has been trying to do things to prevent it from breaking. But sometimes you could just break it by having too many folders deep. And then you have folders with long names and nested really deeply with files with really long names, and that ends up in your URL, and that can break the URL. So if it's too long and too much, um, once the URL breaks, the file could still be there. You could see it, but you might not be able to access the file anymore. It might just end up being in the ether somewhere. So you don't want to do that. So that's the reason why I name things with no spaces and make it as short as possible. I also am not a big proponent of folders, but you do need folders when you're in the File Explorer in order to be able to see, some kind of categorization of your files. Um, in SharePoint, you have this ability to create these other columns, but they don't show up in the File Explorer, so you can't use them there. So you still have to use folders, but do not go super deep and try not to use long names. Also, when you put spaces in the name, it comes up with this, well, it's not this F2, it's actually percent. Oh, here it is, percent 20. So notice how I have OneDrive, there was a space right here that I left in there. It has this percent 20 here, which makes the name even longer in the URL. So that's why I do that.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so there are no more questions in the chat. All right, excellent.
I think I see, wait a minute, I think I see one more. Um, okay, so sync OneDrive and all the changes will be in both places. Yes. So when you sync your OneDrive, if you change it in the browser, the document will change in the browser or on the desktop. So if you open up that same document on the desktop and you make changes to it, you'll see those changes in the browser. Yes, it's all the same document. And then the last one I see, so in a sense, it is a form of track changes. No, it's not a form of track changes. It's just the ability for you to be able to access the document on your desktop and modify it there, and access the document in the browser and modify it there, and it be the same document. All right.
Someone is typing. All right, thank you very much, Nikia.
All right.
All right, so thank you very much for your presentation today. We really learned a lot. A lot of things that's in Office 365 and document libraries and things that you could use to keep yourself organized, to be able to collaborate with each other, be able to go back and figure out things that happened before, to be able to share that information together, to be able to work together. Thank you very much for that. So, any questions or anything you would like to bring up, feel free to reach out to us. We're NCT Tech as well as Sissa Tech. You see our information right on the screen. You can reach
Yeah,
out to
and
us
the
through
website.
email or LinkedIn
I'm sorry, the
or,
email. Yeah, the email's at the bottom now.
okay. And also, our email is at the bottom. You also can reach us through LinkedIn. And if you want to go back and review this, it's also will be viewed on YouTube. We do this every month. We appreciate you coming. And with that said, thank you very much. We are at time and we will see you on the next Microsoft Power Hour.
I'll see y'all next month.